Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to Us Old Folks and What We Know. Today we're going to be talking about jobs and work and money. So I've got my notes here so I don't go on rambling. I'm going to give you 5 things that I know of from living in the past that I have accomplished and done. 5 things that's important. No matter where you at in your life, it's important to you also, especially if you're a younger person. You need to pay close attention. So I'm glancing down at my notes, but number one thing is, you know what? And most people don't try, but you can work when you're young. I'm serious. You can work when you're young. Now, you probably won't be getting Social Security took out or something like that at 13 years old. I know for a fact I worked, but it was work that I enjoyed, and it was work that come in by accident. That's going to be on the list today is accidental jobs and work. But anyway, when I was 13 years old, I cut our grass. Now, I didn't get paid for that. But my neighbor seen me cutting the grass, and one day he drove by and he stopped out there by the road and done like that for me to walk over there to his car, and I did. I knowed him. I said, "Hello, Mr. Smith." And he said, "Look," he said, "I have got to get ready, me and my wife, we going out of town this weekend." He said, "My grass needs cutting and I ain't got time to cut it." He said, "I'll give you $20 if you come down there and cut my grass and pick up all the sticks in the yard." He said, "And I'll pay you right now." And he said, "You cut it whenever you want this weekend." And I said, "Okay." So I got me a job cutting the grass, and then other neighbors saw me do it. Next thing you know, I was helping neighbors out and all. I was cutting the grass. You can do this when you're young. You can cut grass, pick up sticks, rake leaves. And another job I fell into by accident. One day, older man pulled up that was from our church, and he said, "We going on vacation this weekend." And he said, "I sure would love to pay you to wash the car, maybe hit it with a little wax, and vacuum it out, and dust it, and clean it." So he said, "I'll give you $25. Well, I said, "Well, bring your car Saturday and leave it." And he did. And they left it. Didn't pick it up to Sunday evening, actually. But I waxed that car, I washed it, I waxed it, I cleaned his wheels, I cleaned the door jambs, I vacuumed it out, and it looked like a new car nearby. And I went and vacuumed his trunk out, and I mean, it was spotless when he picked it up. He was so proud. He told other people at the church and told other people, "Look how clean DJ cleaned my car this weekend." So, next thing I know, people was bringing their cars over. So you could be a handyman at a young age of 13, 14, and 15. Okay, now, when I was 15 years old, and this is something else. Number one, you can work when you're a young age and cut grass. Number two, sometimes, and this is on my list, sometimes a job finds you, and that's what they did. I didn't go out hunting them jobs, they found me. But you know what? I had the gumption to say yes. I wasn't too good to do that, and I could use the money for other things to explore and all. And so, number two, jobs find you. And that's funny. I stayed at my grandmother's house when I was 15-year-old, and she lived out in the country on an old dirt road. Well, right up the road about half a mile or a mile was a man that owned a Texaco gas station in town. And he'd drive by there going home every day, and I'd wave at him, he'd wave back. And, so one day I waved, and he pulled over and stopped. He seen me out there cutting my granddaddy's yard. My grandma had a great big old flower bed, and I'd get out there and hoe it out, and he'd called me over there and he said, "My goodness, young man," he said, "every time I come back here, come through here, I see you out here working." I said, "Well, I'm helping my grandma and grandpa." And I said, "We cutting grass, getting my grandma's flower beds cleaned up, and he had some pine trees. We picked up them old pine cones and put them in a pile out back and burned them." And he said, "Well, you know what?" He said, "I could use a man like you." He said, "Every Saturday we wash semi-trucks." And he said, "I know your family and your dad owns the garage." He said, "And you were how old?" I said, 15. He said, "Oh." He said, "Do you know how to drive a semi?" I said, "Yes, sir. I drive our big semi-wrecker all the time at the shop, and I went on service calls when I was 15 and picked up cars in a wreck. One time, Georgia State Patrol fixed to write me a ticket for coming out there and picking up a car that had a wreck, and I didn't have no license except my learner's license. And he was going to write me a ticket. The sheriff come by, and he stopped and talked, and he told that State Patrol, he said, "Leave that young man alone." He said, "That young man is the hardest working man you'll ever see." He said, "But he could drive better than anybody else in this world, so leave him alone." And they didn't write me a ticket, and I got off with that. So anyway, he hired me because I drove them trucks down there, and we'd wash them every Saturday. Well, I want to tell you a funny thing about that now. When I worked at that Texaco station, they paid me $20 a day. And I could work 8 hours any day I wanted, but I had to go to school. But in the summer is when I'd make my money because I didn't have to go to school. He would pick me up, and my grandma and them would fix me a sandwich for dinner. And the Texaco man picked me up every morning at 6:30 or 7. I think we opened up at 7 and closed at 7. Had an hour off for dinner. But anyway, he picked me up. My grandma would have me a brown paper sack with some sandwiches and tater chips or something in it. And I kept a cup. And whenever come dinner time, I'd take a break and go out there, and I'd just get a cup of water. Now, we had two other grown men that I was 15, and these guys were 30 and 40. They also were. They was the washers that washed the truck, pumped the gas and all that. I was a driver. They was really mad and upset that he hired me and was paying me the same thing as a child, as they thought, as they were. And but the thing I noticed, they would go in there, and the Texaco owner man, he would give you credit. And he told me right up front, "Now, you get credit." He said, "You get $20 a day, and I pay you at the end of the day." He said, "I don't wait till the week." He said, "You get $20 bill." He said, "But if you want snacks, candy bars and all that," and he sat behind a desk right there in a big old glass window right there, and the Texaco station was there with the gas pumps. And when a car pulled in there, we didn't just run out and pump the gas. We checked their oil, checked their radiator if we thought it was necessary. If it was too hot, he told us don't pull a cap off of a hot radiator. But anyway, we checked their oil, checked their tire, wiped the windshield, pumped the gas, all that for just the price of the gas they paid. And it wasn't about 25 cents a gallon back then. But anyway, we did that all day. And that was on, nobody got out of the car unless they had to go to the restroom. We had to clean them too. They had to be spotless. He inspected them every morning and every evening. If it wasn't clean by time to go home, somebody was going to stay till that bathroom got cleaned. And that wasn't no bad thing. We kept it clean, no problem. But these two guys, they'd go in there and buy Snicker candy bars and Coca-Colas and Dr. Pepper and RC and moon pies all day. I didn't buy nothing. I was there to make money. I got my $20. They would give them back up and get paid. He'd hand them a $10 bill. I seen them come out with only making $5 for the whole day's work, because they eat their profit up in junk food. They asked me, "How do you do it?" I said, "I don't buy nothing. I bring my own sandwiches. I drink water. We had a great cooler." And I said, "I'm not used to drinking soft drinks. I don't want one. I might like it. And next thing you know, I'm spending money on the darn old things." So, that's number 2, is work can find you. Also, a man come by one day and told me, he said, I need help. Somebody mowing I need somebody to drive a tractor and mow cotton stalks down in the field. And he hired me and paid me about $25 a day all day on Saturday on the tractor, round and round that field, mowing all them stalks, getting ready to replant for the fall coverage crop, as they call it. So work can find you. You just got to say yes. And if it don't find you, you need to go out and look for it. All right, now go to college or vocational school. I didn't have enough education to go to college, so I went to vocational school. I did graduate high school, but I had friends that went to college. Some of them went to law school and they become lawyers, and they're successful lawyers. One of them went to college and got a teacher's degree, ended up becoming the principal of a high school, and graduating full honors in his college, and now he goes out and does public speaking to colleges and stuff and gets paid well for it. But the thing about going to school, when you go to school for a career, sometimes it don't work out. You just quit the career and change. I did. I went to mechanic school. I took automotive and diesel mechanic because my dad owned a garage, and I thought that was my life's calling. I worked at the garage for 10 years. And done other jobs on the side. I was a gunsmith by accident. That was another one of them jobs that found me. At first, it started off in our garage. I was cleaning carburetors and rebuilding stuff, and one day a farmer said, I just come in off a dove shoot. While you tuning up my car, can you clean my shotgun? And he said, I'll give you $5. I said, sure. So I broke it down, took the barrel off, and got some mineral spirits and cleaned it and washed it down, blowed it out with air hose and put some oil on it, and it was great. Well, next thing you know, there was a gun shop in Cordele, and right here in town I went in there and was telling the man, looking at the different guns and talking to the owner, and next thing I know, he said, wow, you've been cleaning all these people's shotguns and rifles. I've been hearing about you. He said, how would you like a job? I said, I'd love a job. I said, I'll work at the shop and come in here at night and do your cleaning. He gave me a key to that store because everybody trusted me and knowed me, but he gave me a key and he said, you come in here. And he said, if I'm here, that's fine, but if not, he said, you lock up on the way out and turn the alarm on. I said, I can do that. So he had a back room, and I set up a cleaning station back there. And had a vat. I could soak guns. If it was too bad, I'd soak them overnight sometime in a solution. Most of them wasn't that bad. But I started cleaning guns for the police department, sheriff's department, Georgia State Patrol. Finally, they sent me to armor school up there in Indiana or somewhere, I forget where it was, Massachusetts, Smith & Wesson. I become a full-time armor. I went to school up there for a couple of weeks, went through their whole course, built guns, but that was a job that found me. I didn't find it, and I eventually quit the garage, went full-time into the gun shop business. So, anyway, that's number 3. You can change if you go to college or vocational. I don't care. You can change your job at any point in life. Just get some kind of education. Now, the mechanic skill, I am proud I done it because now I own tractors and equipment. I don't have to hire nobody to work on them. I do my own work. I'm 71 years old. Just put a new starter and rebuilt a starter on my backhoe the other day. I can do these things. I called a man about doing it, and he said that it was $200 just to come out. Then he said, I charge you for the work. And I'm like, no, you're not coming out here. All right, number 4, save money now. I'm not talking about like I got a friend that keeps saying, I'm going to start saving money. I'm going to put some money back to pay my taxes and all this other stuff because he's living on Social Security. I said, you need to start now. Well, we're in December, it's tax time, and he just told me I don't think I'm going to be able to pay my taxes. again. I said, what happened last year when I told you to start saving? Well, I never did get around to it. It's a little round thing that you never get around to. I used to have a little wooden round to it. Never did a darn thing for me. Okay, so open up a savings account in the bank. This is the easy part. Let me tell you about it. A lot of people are scared to do that. They got a checking account and they got a darn old debit card. And the debit card's is a good thing to have, but you can misuse it because it's easy to buy junk and punch the card in till you ain't got no money, but it don't look like money's running out of your pocket, but it's running out of your bank account. Now, if you got a savings account, when you get your Social Security check or you get a check, put 5 or 10% of that check over into that savings account, and you can do it on the computer or on your cell phone, electronic, and that money ain't gone. It's still there, but now it's drawing interest. I'd rather keep the largest sum of money in the savings account, and I do that. Like, if I need to buy something, and I'll give you an example. I just bought something, a $4,000 excavator. I didn't have that much money in my checking account because all my money's in the savings account, making not much, I think 2% interest. But I told that man, I said, will you take a check? And he said, yeah. I said, all right, bring it on. I went in the house and I drawed $4,000 out of that savings account, put it over into the bank account, wrote the check, wasn't even worried about it. It's still my money and I can transfer it back and forth like a ping pong ball. In the savings, out of the savings, in the savings, into the checking account. You can do the same thing. So don't be scared to open up a savings account. It'll be the best friend you ever had. Now, CPA is when you get to be successful in life, you need a CPA. I had a great CPA and he forced me to open up IRA whenever I owned the trucking business. And that was the greatest thing that ever happened. I didn't think so at the time. I was putting money in something that was sending my money off. Well, to Massachusetts, as a matter of fact. But now it's that I'm retired, I can draw out what I need. I can call them up and say, hey, I need $25,000 or something, and they'll transfer it right into my checking account. How about that? But that thing draws interest and compound interest, and it grows over time. You just add a little to it. Roth IRA or IRA or retirement fund, call one of your companies and talk with them. There's probably one in your town. There's a couple in my town. Matter of fact, mine was started off at the bank, but the banker had IRAs you could take out with different insurance companies. Okay, so find work you enjoy. This is number 5, and we'll end it. Find work you enjoy and people that are successful to hang around with. Don't hang around with stupid people. I hate to say that. Don't hang around with drug addicts, drunks, or somebody that talks ugly and cusses and all that. None of my friends do that. If they did, they wouldn't be my friends very long. I got good friends and Christian friends and people that act different, got jobs, most of them own a business and all. But you hang around with people that are successful, you'll be successful. My CPA once told me if you hang out with buzzards, you can't fly with the eagles. And there you go. That just makes sense right there. Now, let me tell you something. In business and life, you're going to have failures. The failures, don't look at them as something bad that's happened. Failure, let that be a lesson in life, not a defeat in life. Remember, the world is changing faster every day. What worked yesterday may not work tomorrow. If you want to start a YouTube channel like this, go for it. Don't let nobody hold you back. And that's another thing. I'm going to have to wind it up here, but don't listen to your family and friends on advice on how to live your life and what you're doing wrong or anything. Right now, I'm retired, but I'm not retired. If somebody asked me, and I just done this here a while back, somebody said, hey, I've got a work at this big company, and we got this huge field out back, and we need somebody to take a tractor and go around there and mow the grass and maybe spray some Roundup around the fence just to clean it up. I said, well, you know, what you think you're going to pay? They said, well, we'll give you about $250. Well, I was up there the next morning cutting grass. It wasn't that big a field. And I sprayed the Roundup around their fence on both sides, about 7 or 8 inches apart. And that way the next time I went up there, and they kept asking me back, or at least they will, and cut that field, mowed it down, made it pretty. In some places I had to go over it twice because the grass was, but it wasn't no trees and bushes and swamp. It was just pretty grass. But jobs will find you and you'll find them, but you got to say yes. You can't say no. I mean, I got a good friend of mine runs a handyman business. A man offered him the other day, and I took him down there to show him he needed some bushes cut around his house. They was growed up about like that, and that guy said, no, I'm not interested, and left. And the owner of the home, which is a good friend of mine, said, well, what's into him? I said, I don't know, he just turned down work. Well, 3 days later, my neighbor come up to me and said, I found a young man that cut my bushes down. And he said, I just had him cut them down with a chainsaw right low to the ground because they grow back so fast. And he said, and I give that man $250. Well, that young boy, he didn't say no. He even brought a trailer and hauled off the bushes. I don't know where he took them, but the other guy could have made that $250. It took him half a day, people, and made $250. So, get out there and enjoy life, but when you, remember, whoever you hang out with is who you're going to become. If you hang out with criminals, you probably going to become a criminal. If you hang out with educated people, you're going to become an educated person. Life's lesson is learned through experience by doing. Now, later on in this show, and boy, this is going to be a good part. You're going to enjoy it, so subscribe and don't miss it. I'm going to tell you about the hilarious things about some of the things that happen on my jobs. Some of them is so unbelievable that it's unreal. And I've had many jobs, and I'll tell you all about them too, because I said yes too many times probably to people asking me if I'd help them do something. But I got paid. But when I got paid, I put part of that pay in a savings account or my IRA. But I run a trucking company for a lot of years, and I think some of the funniest things that I've ever done was work for little companies that thought they was big, and I worked for big companies that thought they had power over everybody that they found out was wrong too. And I'm going to tell you about that, and I'm going to tell you about the time I was working at a company. We had a lumber rack, and we was closing that night, and I walked by, and there was a suitcase in the floor right beside the lumber, and I looked at that suitcase, and I'm like, well, what in the world? And I looked up under the stacks of lumber, and there was a lady in there with a pillar asleep. I don't know how long she's been living in our store, but there she was. Anyway, I'll tell you about that later. Y'all have a great week, and subscribe, like the channel. We'll have life's adventures. If there's something you want to know about personally, put it in the description, and I'll get you an answer, I promise you. Y'all have a great week.